Okay. uh, this is disturbing. Um, EPA exclusive. EPA didn't declare a public health emergency after fiery Ohio derailment. Um, now I'm just going to jump down. Let's see. The EPA did not see a need for public health emergency because now um, I think they're getting the whole idea of. Okay, this is very bad. I'm going to start. The EPA did not see a need for a public health emergency because they believed they had sufficient legal authority to respond to the situation despite ongoing complaints from residents about health issues. Um, okay, I have the question that you're probably wondering. They didn't answer. What they said had nothing to do with issuing a public health emergency. Um, um, they believe they have sufficient legal authority to respond to the situation. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you feel you had legal authority to respond to the situation. What about the? Why didn't you declare a health emergency? Um, what does that have to do with it? Okay. Um, to respond to the situation despite ongoing complaints from residents about health issues. Despite ongoing. Okay, so people are complaining about health issues, and they're not going to issue a public health emergency because they feel they had sufficient legal authority to respond to it. What? That's kind of like saying, someone calls and they're having a heart attack, and they die, and they say, well, we felt that we had a right to answer this emergency call. What does that have to do with the person who's dying? uh, that's this wasn't written by a human being. This is this is computers. This is computers talking to computers. Listen. Why do I think I'm the only one on the planet? Well, because the EPA is not apparently not a real thing. Um, what they said has nothing to do with issuing a public health emergency. Why did they issue? What would be a qualifying answer for the question? Why did you not issue a public health emergency? Well, because the toxins were within such and such a range. That would be an answer. Or, you know, uh, the spill was seemed much worse, or it didn't fall into the guideline of, the guideline which warrants notifying the public. Um, okay. There was no, uh, despite the residents' ongoing complaints about health issues. Okay. Well, um, so the EPA acknowledges that people had complaints about health issues, and they didn't answer that question at all about the health issues. They just completely avoided the question. That's not okay. That's disturbing. Oh, here we go. Well, looky here. Just what I said. Did they change this? The aftermath of last year's fiery train derailment in eastern Ohio doesn't qualify as a public health emergency because this answers the question. Because widespread health problems and ongoing chemicals exposures haven't been documented. I'm sorry, what? because widespread health problems and ongoing chemical exposures have not been documented, federal officials said. Um, okay, this is disturbing, very disturbing. um, After the aftermath of last year's fiery trail derailment in eastern Ohio doesn't qualify as a public health emergency because widespread health problems and ongoing chemical exposures haven't been documented. Okay, so they haven't been documented. That might be true. I guess it is true. But why didn't you document them? Why aren't they documented? Are you not real? They're not documented because there's nobody to document them? That's an excuse? That's not, because no, that's very bad. Because they were never documented. Wow. Well, whose job is to document them? Are they saying that? They're not saying that there's no widespread health problems. They did not say there are no widespread health problems. They said there's no documentation of them. They weren't documented. Well, that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. And ongoing chemical exposures haven't been whoa. Ongoing chemical exposures haven't been documented. Okay, they just admitted that there's ongoing chemical exposures. Okay. What they said is there are ongoing chemical exposures. That's what they're admitting to. Haven't been documented. Well, who said anything about? The volunteer information. Federal officials said. What federal officials? Federal officials? I mean, they all said that? More than one said that? Officials? What are their names? Wouldn't that be news, right? Environmental Protection Agency, that's what EPA stands for, never approved that designation after the February 23rd Norfolk Southern derailment, even though the disaster forced the evacuation of half the town. This just gets worse and worse. Of there's nothing funny about this, sorry. Eastern Palestine, and generated many fears about, generating fears. That's okay, about long-term health problems and consequences of the chemicals that spilled and burned. The contamination concerns were exacerbated by the decision to blow open 5 tank cars filled with vinyl chloride and burned that toxic chemical 3 days after the derailment. Oh my stars, this sounds terrible. The disaster forced the evacuation of half the town. Did it force an evacuation? Okay. Let's go back to the top. EPA didn't declare a public health emergency. How do you do that? How do you not declare a public health emergency yet move half the town out? This is a little confusing. What they say? There's no reason for you to leave. Let's go. That sounds very confusing. It's confusing information. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It certainly doesn't. And they keep going over the same thing over and over again, like it's going to get better. It just got worse and worse and worse. Here they answered the question once. EPA didn't feel a need for it, yet they evacuated half the town. Does this sound like an organization that is concerned about health? Or what are they more concerned about? I don't understand. What's so terrible about saying hey, look, this is really bad. Why do they not want to admit to do that? They evacuated half the town. And they saw, that's, Uh, these people, whatever, the EPA, it can't be humans in there. There's no humans in there. I mean, there's no one who. I mean, to be a human, you have to have humanity. Humanity, right? So here, it's very predictable. There's going to be lawsuits, and there's going to, the government is going to, I'm assuming, fight every single one of them on. I don't know. I thought the government was supposed to protect us, not, you know, try to protect other things. What? What's in this bill? A topic of health emergency came up in emails obtained by the Government Accountability Project, a watchdog group, through a public records request. The topic of public health emergency came up in emails obtained by the Government Accountability Project, watchdog group. The Government Accountability Project, watchdog group. Why do we need a watchdog group for government accountability? Um, I mean, government is that bad that, accountability is so. It is. We shouldn't need a watchdog group. The fact that we have one says government has failed. They're not working for us. They're not working to help us. Uh, I don't know what they're working for, but why? Why should we need a watchdog group? What's wrong with government? What is their agenda? Why do we allow this to continue? This is not what the government's for. The government's supposed to look after us, and they're not. They're creating nonsense. They're acting like they're not there. Hundreds of people died and thousands were sickened from widespread asbestos exposures. Doesn't fit. Oh dear. Hold on. Accountability project, but EPA response coordinator Mark Durmo said the label, which the agency has only once used before in Libby, Montana, where hundreds of people died and thousands were sickened from but the EPA response coordinator said that the label, which the agency has only used once. What label? What label? What is he talking about? Doesn't fit. What label? I don't. Am I missing them? What label? If you're confused, I'm confused. Uh, why do I think that I'm the only person on the planet? Because if I can't believe that 5 people could read this without one person complaining about what horrible this is. EPA response coordinator Mark Dormo. Durno said the label. What label? I don't know what he's talking about. No one else does either. Which the agency has only used once. What label have they only used once? What's the label? Only used once before. Why would it matter how many times they use it once? How many times they use the label? What? I don't even know what they're talking about. Doesn't fit. Ooh, doesn't fit. Oh, well, what doesn't fit? Doesn't fit is a reminder of if the glove, you must quit if the glove doesn't fit. So, they're going to push you back to O.J. Simpson thing. So he wants you to think, oh, black people are bad. That's nice. Doesn't fit. Yeah. Okay, well, that's really insensitive. unnecessary. Um, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. East Palestine even, though some residents still complain about respiratory problems, oh my stars, and unexplained rashes. Oh, and the government's just doing nothing but saying there's nothing wrong. Uh, I paraphrase all of their comments. Officials also believe the agencies have officials. What officials? What officials also believe the agency had enough account authority to respond to the development without declaring an emergency? What officials? This just lacks information. What officials? Um, who said that the reason for a public health emergency isn't being considered is okay. Oh. So we're talking. So we're focused. They're focusing on not the people being hurt. Yeah, They're not. They're completely ignoring the people being hurt, and they're just the public health emergency thing isn't being considered. Is that we? Who's we? Who's we? Who's we? Don't have any environmental data. Well, in other words, you guys aren't doing your job. You guys aren't doing your job. Is that what he's saying? I think that's what he said. I paraphrase. The reason we don't have a public emergency isn't being considered is that no one went out. We don't have any environmental data. Nothing was documented for people were hurt, despite the number of people that I'm sure have been to the doctor and are sick that they're saying, and they evacuated half the town, and they did that because everything is perfectly fine. Is that what they're saying? About ongoing chemical exposures in the extensive air, water, and soil testing program. You don't have you don't have any environmental data. What did they test? Why don't they have any environmental data? These things, I'm sure, are facts. They don't have any data, but why? Well, because there's nobody in the government. The EPA said in a statement that in order to, uh, the EPA said in a statement, uh, this is like a bunch of different articles put in one, um, that the order it did issue telling Norfolk Southern it was responsible for the damage declared that. Oh, all right. First of all, was the EPA driving the train? Who's driving the train? What's the name of that company? Where was it going? Where was it coming from? What are the chemicals on there? Or the better ways of storing the chemicals? Is that the best? Were they stored properly on the train? What caused the derailment? Were the tracks good? Were the cars old? Was the train going too fast? Um, I mean, EPA is acting like they drove the train. Well, they're just supposed to protect us. What? It's not their train, is it? I don't. I mean, okay. It was. The conditions at the derailment site may constitute an imminent and substantial endangerment to the public health or welfare or the environment. So the agency said it didn't need a public. It didn't need. It didn't see a need for public health emergency because it had legal authority. It needed to respond. That's a little. Give that more information. Okay, let's go this backward. Uh, uh, it didn't see a need for public or legal authority. Because, wait, the EPA said in a statement that in order it did issue, the EPA said in the statement that the order it did issue telling Norfolk Southern it was responsible for the damage declared that. Let's read it again. Totally AI. The EPA said in a statement that the order it did issue telling Norfolk Southern that it was responsible for the damage declared. Well, the EPA said that it's responsible for the damage? How is that possible? They're just supposed to protect us. They're not responsible, are they? What's going on here? This is very suspect. The EPA said in a statement that the order it did issue telling Norfolk Southern it was responsible for the damage. Why would it say that they're responsible for the damage? They're not responsible for the damage declared. They're responsible for the damage. Responsible for damage declared. You mean responsible for declaring the damage? That's very confusing. Purposely, that the conditions at the derailment site may constitute immediate accepted endangerment to the public health or welfare, or the environment. That the site may constitute an immediate. Okay, so they declared the conditions at the site. Okay, it may constitute an imminent substantial endangerment to the public health. It may, that's a statement. Isn't that a statement of public, what's a statement, isn't it? What was so bad about that? It may constitute an immediate okay. I would accept that. You know, it may. Probably. It might. And they could add some a little bit of empathy. We're concerned that it may constitute an imminent. They're not concerned. The only thing they're concerned about is being blamed for it, or being blamed for. I don't understand. So the agency said it didn't need to put. Again, this is contradictory. But areas residents like Jimmy Wallace see plenty of evidence. But area residents Jimmy Wallace see plenty of evidence that their hometown has become a disaster every time they open Facebook and see posts about their friends' kids covered with rashes or struggling with chronic nosebleeds. Other posts talk about the smell of chemicals returning after heavy rains. They keep saying it's coincidence. Coincidence. Okay, let me. You know what a coincidence is? Technically, you could say this is all a random occurrence. You could, because it's only happened once, unless in that spot, right? If it happens, that's one like thing. It's a random occurrence. A coincidence requires it to happen twice. Two like events happening twice. I think if you look at that one spot, okay, it's going to be a random occurrence. If you look at train wrecks that with chemical spills, then that would be a pattern. A pattern requires a minimum of three like incidents. And if you want to look at, train crashes with spilled chemicals, well, that's definitely a pattern, well established. If you're looking at this one incident, well, that's a random occurrence. But they're using a coincidence. Well, I don't see why they got the coincidence. Okay. That's just, scientifically. But if this was your family, wouldn't you get tired of it being a coincidence? It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. So there's a pattern with the government. I mean, enough's enough. Enough's enough. Clearly something's wrong. They keep saying it's a coincidence, but if this was your family, um, what's a coincidence? Another person who is an environmental investigator with the group, Watchdog. That's a curious name. Uh, who is an environmental investigator with uh, said she wants to make sure the East Palestine residents get the help. I, I'm sorry. That's just you know, there are certain ways of phrasing things that that really say you really don't care. You really just don't care. You know, and those are the exact words that kind of get there. You know, uh, she really wants to make sure that East Palestine residents get the help that they need to recover from the derailment. Does she know? She does. Well, why doesn't she just get them help? Why isn't it this person has got them help? Why doesn't she do it? Well, we'd like to get some help for them. How long is it? A year? Last year? Let's get some help. That's nice of you, isn't it? I talk to residents all the time, and they're having new seizures, pop-up cancers. I mean, a lot of the damage has already been done to these people. Yeah, the damage has already been done to them, so let's just move on. How's that? That was already done. No, why are we talking about it? What are we talking about? Federal state officials continue monitoring additional problems in the small community near the Pennsylvania border. According to the Journal, the EPA also keeps testing the air and water in the areas it oversees. The railroads work to clean up the mess. Um, they keep testing the air and the water? The water? Oh. He related that none of the agency's more than 100 million tests of air, water, and soil ever showed concerning levels of chemicals apart from the soil immediately surrounding the derailment. Okay. Um, um, this is just so horrible. So horrible. We all know. Um, we all know that they're talking about the water. They're talking about the water, the contamination of the soil. They're saying, well, just around the site. But we know that's not going to stay that way, don't we? We know that's not going to stay that way. It's going to keep ramping up. We know that because that's what it's about. Right? It's about it's going to keep going down. It's going to get it's going to get whatever it can get into. And how long is that stuff dangerous for? That's another issue. Right? How long is it going to be toxic to travel through that? That soil is just no good anymore. And it's going to hit some water somewhere. Going down into the water somewhere. Uh, there's other things that the level of chemical apart from the soil immediately around the area. It's just immediately around the area. Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. You know, it may constitute immediate and substantial health uh, danger to the. He related that none of the agencies more than 100. In a recently enclosed email, the EPA lawyer. Why do you need lawyer? Why do you need lawyer? Why can't I just be honest? Right? That's not being honest. People wouldn't be as mad if you're honest. It's never honest. Government's never honest. Never. You know? Why are we paying this? Why are you paying for this? The recent disclosed emails was best not to get into this. An EPA lawyer tells one of its PR, Puerto Rican people, is that Puerto Rican? I, I don't know. Is that Puerto Rican? Um, poor, PR, poor. They could use other, they might try using other, they shouldn't be using initials anyway. Just tell us what it is so we don't have to guess. Or, you don't have to suggest. Just tell us what it is. What is the word? Um, um, trick rockers, people, that it was best not to get into this. When he was asked whether the document explained the agency's order telling Norfolk Southern to clean up the contaminations from the development should include anything about medical benefits. That kind of aid, which could include Medicare coverage, is only available if EPA declares a public health emergency. Ding, 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 ding. Now, this is why they didn't want to declare. Anything that is very lucrative. Oh, let's take some people. Let's do that. Yeah. Let's just be good, right? No, 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 no. I don't. This is horrible. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it without crying. Seriously. I'm just gonna leave this. Oh, that's it.